Welcome back to Garage Matters. Today we have one of the rarest Toyota Celicas ever made. Now in America, the 6th generation Toyota Celica, we only got the ST trim level and the GT trim levels. Now the ST trim level, it made roughly around 115 horsepower from the 1.8 liter engine, and then the GT version, which came with the 2.2 liter, that version only made around 135 horsepower. But behind here, we have the GT4s. Now the GT4 was only sold in Japan and the European market, and some of them went down to the Australian market as well. So this GT4 is never sold in America, so that's why it's one of the rarest Celicas you'll ever see. This GT4 is a 2.0 liter turbocharged engine that makes roughly around 255 horsepower since it was made for the Japanese domestic market. It's got a little different tuning, that's why it gives it just a little bit more horsepower than the European market versions. This is a true JDM legend. Now another reason why this GT4 is even rarer than all the other GT4s is because this is a WRC spec. I'll go over some of the details that makes this a WRC spec and why it's such a rare vehicle here in America. Now let's go over here to my wall. Over here on my wall, this is the actual GT4 WRC model that was used in the European rally races back in the early 90s. So this car was bred for racing. This is the WRC spec GT4. Now over here, we'll go over some of the features that makes this a WRC spec, that makes it one of the more rare GT4s that's out there. We'll come over here real quick. Take a look at this front spoiler right here. So this front spoiler, this is a homologation special. Only the WRCs came with this front spoiler right here. And we'll take a look inside this engine bay real quick to point out the WRC specs. So this is the anti-lag bypass valve. Only the WRCs came with this anti-lag bypass valve. So on this bypass valve right here, there's plumbing that comes underneath here. So these two air lines right here go into the exhaust manifold right here. And another way to tell if this is a WRC spec, look for this golden bolt right here. So this is where the golden bolt is at. So these air lines go inside this golden bolt and goes into the exhaust manifold. Another way you can check to see if your car's a WRC is come look at the VIN numbers. So if it's below 2500, then you know it's a WRC. There is only 2500 WRCs made, so if your VIN number is below 2500, it's a good possibility that it's a WRC. Another quick mention real quick is the riser blocks. So the riser blocks on this rear spoiler, only WRCs came with this additional riser block. Now this riser block right here, along with the front lip right here, the spoiler, and this anti-lag bypass valve, all these had to be factory options on the first 2500 of these vehicles in order to be homologated into the World Rally Championship. So these cars had to come like that from the factory in order to be utilized in the WRC. Now let's take a look at the front. So this front end is totally different from the American Celica. So the American Celica doesn't have this air vent right here to help cool the engine bay right here. So that's what you're gonna notice that's different on this GT4. So the GT4s come with this air vent right here. Let's take a look at the hood. So the hood is also different as well. Come up to the hood. So on here, we have this cooling duct right here. So this cooling duct is gonna help extract the hot air out of the engine bay on out. So you can see the turbocharger in here. So this turbocharger is going to generate a lot of heat, and all that heat is going to expel out of this vent right here. Another difference is this cooling duct right here. So this cooling duct actually goes down into the timing belt cover to help cool the timing belt. Another difference is these additional ducts right here. So you got one on this side, one on that side. So both these cooling ducts help extract the hot air out from the engine bay. Now let's take a look underneath this hood again. So underneath the hood, you have the venting for the hot air from the engine bay to escape right here. Over here is where that cooling duct comes down into the cam belt cooler right here. It's gonna go down here into the cam belt right here and cool that cam belt. Over here, you also have the functional scoops right here. So these ducting right here is going to help extract that hot air out from the engine bay. So one over here and one over there as well. Now let's take a look at this engine. This engine is a 2.0 liter twin entry turbo. So it only has a single turbo, but it's a twin entry. So what that means is it's a twin scroll turbo. We'll come over here to my mock-up and take a look at the turbo system real quick. Take this off. Okay. All right. Now once the gases come out of the head, it's gonna leave this exhaust manifold. And once it leaves this exhaust manifold, these runners right here, they're split into two separate chambers right here. One right here and one right here. So two of the cylinders is gonna come out here, and the other two cylinder exhaust gases is gonna funnel on out of here. Then once it leaves there, it's gonna go down into here. Now inside of here, there's two separate scrolls in here for the turbo. So this two chambers right here is split. So one of it's gonna start spooling up this turbo sooner, and then the other side is gonna help spool the turbo up later in the RPM range. That's gonna help give this turbo that low to mid-range power to start spooling up and building that horsepower. So this is a twin scroll setup turbo, and that's why it's used on this GT4, because it was made for racing. Let's get back over to this engine bay. So over here, it also comes with ABS. So this is a 94, it came with ABS, the option to have ABS. This car fortunately does have ABS. I like having ABS, even though it adds a little bit of weight. I'd rather play it safe. I like ABS. Another main difference is this snorkel right here. So this snorkel goes down underneath the engine right here, and it draws cool air to help cool this alternator right here. And then you have your standard radiator right here, but if you notice this intercooler right here, it's an air to water intercooler. So it's also got another radiator cap right here for coolant in here. So this coolant, there's a water pump that's down here that's connected to your other radiator. So this is the front radiator that's gonna help cool the intercooler charge right here. And then up here, you have your strut tower bars. So standard front strut tower bars on the GT4s. Come back here. And then for the rear section, you have a standard strut tower bar for the rear section as well. So these two strut tower bars is gonna help with the lateral rigidity of this GT4. And this engine was never offered in America. So again, in America, we got the 1.8 liter and the 2.2 liter. And those were a 5 series engine. This is a 3 series engine, 3S GTE, T for turbocharged. Now let's move around to the side of the vehicle. So on the side of the vehicle, another main difference is the braking system. So in America, the ST came with front disc brakes, but in the rear, the ST came with drums. But if you got in the GT came with 4-wheel disc. But the difference is with these GT4s, all GT4s come with 4-piston type calipers. So there's 4 pistons in here. One here, and 2 on the back side. And the reason why Toyota went and put 4-piston type calipers on this GT4 is once again because it had to be homologated for racing. And then in the back, we'll move to the back real quick and talk about the braking system. Now in the back also came with 2-piston type calipers. So you have one on this side and one on the other side. So again, 2-piston type calipers because this GT4 had to be homologated for racing. So that's a pretty big significant difference as far as power and performance when it comes to the GT4 versus the ST and the GT that was offered in America. Now the side profile of this vehicle is pretty standard. It's the same shell as the ST and GT trim levels in America. Let's go ahead and open up the vehicle and see what it looks like inside. First thing we notice that since this is a JDM model, is right-hand drive. But as far as the door cards, these door cards, similar to the ones that are made in America, the only difference is that in Japan, this car actually has the super live sound system. So it's got 8 speakers in this vehicle. 3 in the front, 1, 2, 3. And then over here, 1, 2, 3, 6. And then 1 mid-range in the back, 7. And then another one back here, so 8. So 8 total speakers for the super live sound system. Take a look at these floor mats. So these are still the original Celica floor mats. These say Celica Hypersports. So for a 30-year-old vehicle, yeah, it's got some stains and stuff, but it's not bad for a 30-year vehicle. These seats, pretty standard. I'm pretty sure all Celicas had the option to get leather interior, so this is what the leather seats look like. And then we'll keep moving around the vehicle. And we'll take a look at this rear spoiler. So this rear spoiler, a lot of people say this is a baby Supra because of the wing, but this spoiler is bigger than a Supra wing. This wing never came to America, only stayed in Japan. Now the backside is pretty standard and typical. The only difference is that it says GT4 on here. Over here it says Celica. Then we'll come over here to the driver's side. So now on the driver's side, this is how it looks like. Take a look at the back seats. Alright, so for a 30-year-old car, these leather seats they're still original. So throughout the years of my ownership, I've been kind of patching it up. But I think this summer, I'll probably have them re-upholstered or just get brand new seats. Now under here in the footwell, we have the classic 3 pedals: clutch, brake, and gas. Over here on this door card, take a look at this door panel right here. Now this is all soft touch and leather, so it's really nice material. Have this little light down here, classic JDM style. Over here, power windows, window lock, door lock, mirror controls, and then this little button over here is to fold these side mirrors right here. So these side mirrors on all JDM models, especially Japanese vehicles, this is a standard feature. You don't have to pay extra for an optional upgrade to have these folding mirrors. In Japan, it's all standard. And now we'll go ahead and move into the driver's seat. So inside this driver's seat right here, this is what it looks like. Now this vehicle has roughly around 196,000 kilometers. So that's not too bad at all. Over here we have a tachometer, speedometer, engine temp, turbo, and fuel gauge. Up here on this dash, take a look at this dash. This dash is soft touch material, classic for 90s. And looking at this dash, there's no cracks, no tears, no nothing on it. Still really, really nice for a 30-year-old vehicle. Here's all your climate control stuff right here. Pretty nice. And if you want to have a cigarette, it still has your cigarette lighter. Come down to the gearbox, 5-speed manual transmission, and your classic e-brake. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at this owner's manual. So this is the owner's manual. This is what it looks like. Everything's all in Japanese, Celica. So let's open this up and see what's in here. So everything's Japanese. And looks like this is just telling you the different keys that comes with this vehicle. And this vehicle, when I bought the car, it did come with this key fob. So here you have the unlock and lock button for this vehicle. So it adds a really nice touch that, considering it's a 1994, came with this style of key. Then over here, it just looks like it tells you how to operate the door locks. And then this little cartoon figure looks like he's saying, make sure that the doors are locked before you start driving. This is the rest of it. That's what it looks like. And then tells you how to use the climate control right here. So this is what the owner's manual look like. And we'll take a look at this other one. So this looks like it's the maintenance log. So we'll come in here and look through here. So looks like if you need maintenance done, you take it to the Toyota Techno Shop. So when I was living in Japan, most of these dealerships, their service center were called techno shops. But here in America, I don't think they call them techno shops here. But it's kind of cool. So here, it looks like it's telling us how to check the oil level, I'm guessing. And over here, this is probably clutch fluid or power steering fluid levels, min and max. And then we'll come over here, see what else is in here. Alright, so that looks like it's about it. So here, looks like the maintenance logs. So everything's written in Japanese, but yeah, it looks like prior to my ownership, last owner had all the maintenance performed on this vehicle, but since it's a older vehicle and I like doing all the maintenance on my own, I just do all the maintenance on my own on this vehicle. And now one of the major differences, since this is a turbocharged engine, we'll take a look at the exhaust system. So this is the factory OEM exhaust system on this GT4. Take a look at it. So this muffler right here, we're gonna take a peep inside this muffler, see how it's designed. Inside this muffler right here, look straight through it, and it's a straight through design. So we definitely know it's made for power from the factory. Then we'll come on over here. This is the resonator right here, so it does have a resonator on it. And then this piping. Let's take a measurement of this piping, see how big this factory piping is. Alright, so I'm gonna grab this tape measure, put on this piping right here, and it looks about, okay, so this pipe from the factory looks like it's 2.5 inch diameter. So a 2.5 inch diameter piping from the factory is pretty big for a 2-liter turbocharged engine. So this exhaust piping is definitely much bigger than what you would expect on the American Spec ST and GT trim levels. And then this turbo system setup definitely makes over 100 horsepower more than the GT trim level. Now besides this GT4 being turbocharged and making over 100 more horsepower than the GT trim level, it is all-wheel drive. So an all-wheel drive system paired with a turbocharged system makes it one of the few rally cars that you can buy right out of the box. Now in the 1990s, a lot of those Japanese manufacturers like keeping their top trim levels in Japan, or just like to keep them away from the American market, such as this GT4, these Integra Type Rs, Civic Type Rs, and the Skyline GTRs. All those vehicles never made it to America. And considering that this GT4 is a WRC spec, one of 2,500 ever made in order to be homologated for the WRC, it really truly is one of the rare Toyota Celicas that were ever made. Remember, join us next time on Garage Matters and hit that like and subscribe button.